Well, we faced what we expected, two really good opponents on the road in a challenging atmosphere. I felt both places, the crowd noise was a great factor, really was an element to try to settle in and handle, as well as the caliber of competition. So we learned a lot about ourselves. Felt like we had opportunities in both games. We weren't able to finish them off, but real excited about the potential in this group.
With some of those, I think it was the turnovers in the Minnesota game, just kind of what would the plan be to just kind of cut down on some of those?
Yeah, I would say it was the turnovers in both games, to be quite honest. The opponents at that level are going to challenge you to take care of the basketball, move it side to side. I think we're at this point in the year, we're impatient. I think we'll get there. I think those things also show themselves in practices, so we need to do a better job in practice on how we value our possessions and the shot selection that we're taking. I thought those two things really showed as far as what the defense dictated against us, and they were two very different styles. The South Dakota State game was extremely physical, almost switching everything, really made it difficult to get into the paint, so we really needed to move the ball on driving kicks and reversals, whereas Minnesota kind of tempted us into immediate paint penetration and doing a lot on our own shoulders, and I think we need to find ways to get our entire team involved.
You have a few kind of newcomers contributing already. How do you feel like they've kind of blended into the team dynamic, I guess?
Well, starting with Darian, a freshman running your point guard position is probably the most difficult position to play as a freshman, let alone start in that kind of environment, as well as doing that against a top 23 opponent on the court of Minnesota. And I thought she really handled the ball well for us. I think the growth of Darian's going to be how she gets her teammates involved on second and third sides, because she's such a bulldog and attack-oriented. And those things, she can find almost a will to get into the paint when she wants. So just the balance of that growth, I think just so many exciting things to come from her. Also, I think she's really brought an element on the defensive end for us right now as a team. Those two games on the road, I felt like our defense was really strong enough to win those games, and it was really taking care of the basketball. So I think her defense has been really contagious on our team. Love what she's doing. She responds to everything. She's a competitor at will. And then you go with Maddie and Kola, I think, are just continuing to take jumps as well. Maddie Jackson is another relentless defender, whereas Kola on the interior has tremendous hands. So I think the freshman class is very exciting. And then with Fallon, I think the big thing for her is just pressing a little bit. She's somebody that we are going to put the ball in her hands a lot. But I think we also can have the patience and the resolve to work those things on both ends of the floor. But she also is having to handle the press with us in the backcourt, being our starting four. So we're putting a lot of responsibility on her. And I think she has a high demand on herself. So I just want her to stay in the moment and embrace that and enjoy it. And I think we'll for sure get her there.
Seattle is a team that you've played a number of times. So what can you say just about them as a program and the challenge they might?
Well, I really like the matchup coming off of Minnesota. I think we just came off of a game where the guard play is really attack-oriented as far as attacking the paint, and I think the athleticism in Seattle is going to present the same challenges on how we keep the ball out of the paint. We need to do a better job of protecting our teammates. I thought we did a very good job against South Dakota State, particularly with the post play, getting it out, but the penetration is something we still need to grow on, and Seattle is going to challenge us in that area.
You're really starting to hit the chunkier schedule here where you're facing a lot of competitive teams. Obviously, go playing Gonzaga next week, but then you'll be able to make that Puerto Rico trip with a lot of stiff competition. What's it like just for the girls to be able to start seeing some of these teams that are really going to cause issues for you and how to bounce back, I guess?
Well, what I liked about after this weekend was the fact that our team was not happy with just being in two games against a mid-major top 25 and a high-major top 25 opponent. I think they really walked away and felt like there's some things on our end of the floor that prevented us from winning those games. So I think we're at a point as a program where we need to start having some success and finish those games. Minnesota, I thought the turning point for us when we had the double-digit lead in the third quarter was Oleana getting her fourth foul. That really, she was kind of our steadiness in that particular game of organizing us and just giving us some composure, and that really changed the trajectory. Even Darian have to playing longer minutes kind of wore her out as well. So I think the two things we're going to take away from just this last weekend, obviously the value of taking care of the basketball. We averaged 20 turnovers over the week, and also on the defensive end, we've got to play hard and smart together. Our team is playing tremendously hard, but we're having some undisciplined fouls. We had Madeline in foul trouble against South Dakota State early. I thought that affected us. We had Ole in the second half against Minnesota, and I thought that affected us. As much as we have depth, there's things that we can control, those things we want to get better. As we go into this tough schedule, that needs to be our mentality. It's no longer a program that we're happy to be in games. We need to find some ways to not put it on our individual shoulders. When you're playing that level of talent, you've got to beat them as a team. And I like the progression of this group, and this is why we have the schedule.
Were you surprised with the way that Cola has been able to contribute, coming off the injury? Did you expect her to be maybe as solid as she is?
Well, we did expect her to be that solid. As far as her hands go and her strength goes and how fast she picks things up, those are the things that you think you've seen great hands in the recruiting process and the physicality, but to get it in person every day in practice, she's really special. I think how she bounced back from her injury from a mental standpoint, those are the unknowns. And like her first day of practice, I was trying to not have her get so much contact in there and just kind of ease her back in, but she hasn't skipped a beat in that regard. So it's been very exciting. And to have her mixed in with so many veterans, I just think it's a great opportunity for her to grow quickly, especially with so many seniors graduating in that particular position.
You mentioned wanting to win, last week. Being so close, I guess, a couple times, how would you kind of describe the attitude of the team right now? And if you would, it's kind of upbeat, or, just where are you at as far as sort of the team dynamic is?
Well, we're in a great place on the defensive end. Like, our kids are having a lot of fun defending. I think they like the challenge of trying to defend anybody that's next in front on how we're going to stop them. And when you can play great defense consistently, then you can compete with anybody. And I think we've got them locked in that regard. So that part's extremely exciting. And on the offensive end, I think our team knows it's just a matter of how do we get them to settle in and stop pressing the issue and work the ball side to side. I will give Minnesota credit. They made it very difficult to do that when they're denying a lot of different positions on the floor. But our kids are going to certainly see a lot of missed opportunities on us of just settling in when we had opportunities. The other piece of that is, to answer your emotional question, I don't think they're sitting great about it, to be honest. We're pleased with how we performed, but we're not happy going 0-2 on the road, regardless of the caliber of talent. And, we had the conversation of, if you're going to win a championship, you have to find ways to get a split on the road for sure. And so we're going to have to grow and learn from some of the things we can control on the road, which is we've got to stay out of foul trouble, and we got to stay together, and we got to play together on both ends of the floor. We're certainly playing together on the defensive end. That's like I said, tremendous growth. Really impressed with our defense. We got to find a way to play together on the offensive end, just getting everybody involved.